Hello guys, I hope you are well. Today we're going to do question one of grade 10 mathematics. Usually it is algebraic expressions, okay? This we do it from grade 9, but we continue with it grade 10, 11, and 12. So let's just start with it. Question one, they're saying simplify. They're asking us to simplify. So in simplifying, remember we're going to multiply this by that, which is going to give us m cubed, and then we now multiply m times that term is going to be minus 6. Now remember m times m is going to give us m squared, and then we still have an n, and then we multiply again. We multiply this by that is going to give us minus m n squared. That's the first part, right? Now we're going to multiply the bottom here. We have negative 2n multiplied by m squared is going to give us negative 2m squared n. And then it further goes on to say negative 2m multiplied by negative 6mn. So negative times negative is going to give us positive. Then we have 2 times 6 is 12. Then we have m, and then n times n is going to give us n squared. And then the last term we have minus 2 multiplied by negative n squared. We're going to have negative times negative is positive. Then we're going to have 2n cubed. And then from here, we're going to look for like terms. I'm just going to use a different color. So m cubed, there's no other term that has m cubed is the only variable. So we're going to keep m cubed just the way it is. So it's m cubed. And then we're going to look for the variables m squared n. There's m squared, and then where's another one? Here it is m squared n, right? So this term and that one, they are like terms. So we have minus 6 minus 2. The coefficients are going to have minus 8, and then we keep the variables the same. And then now we have another, let us look for another term again. We have this variable here, mn squared, and then we have it again here, mn squared. So again, we check our coefficients. Remember, if we have nothing in front here, our coefficient is 1. So we're going to have minus 1 plus 12. Minus 1 plus 12 is going to give us plus 11. And then we write the same variables. And then lastly, we have 2n cubed. And then 2n cubed, it does not have any other variable. I mean, any other like term. So I'm just going to write it the way it is. So we're going to have plus 2n cubed. Okay, that is the first question where they said we should simplify. Now, going to the second question. Going to the second question. Second question, that's saying there we have x cubed plus 1. This is sum of 2 cubes over x squared minus x plus 1. Then you have minus 4x squared minus 3x minus 1 over 4x plus 1. So firstly, what we need to do in this case is that we need to factorize our numerator, that one, but we should do it separately. We should also factorize our numerator there separately as well. So let us get on to our first numerator. Remember the formula for sum of cubes of 2 cubes is we're going to have the first term plus the last term over the first term squared minus the first term multiplied by the last term plus the last term squared. That is our formula, right? So let us quickly factorize it. So our first term in this case is x plus our last term is 1, right? And then now we said our first term it should be squared. So we're going to have x squared minus, then we multiply our first term and the last term. So x times 1 is it is x, and then lastly we have plus our last term squared. So 1 squared is going to give us 1. So we just factorized our numerator. So let's write it down. So we have this, and then we have x squared minus x plus 1. Then over our denominator, which is x squared minus x plus 1. That denominator there is the same one that I just used there. And then moving forward, let's quickly factorize our numerator in our second term. So in our second term, we have 4x squared minus 3x minus 1. So this is an advanced trinomial. Remember, we want to get rid of this 4 in front here. So we do it by multiplying the 4 by 1. So 4 multiplied by 1, I'm going to have x squared minus 3x, and then 4 times 1 is minus 4. We know that it is easier for us to factorize this than to factorize that, right? So now let us factorize this that which we know usually it is more easier for us to factorize. So I'm going to have x there and then x there. So now we have those two factors of 4 that which we multiply, they give us a 4. But if we subtract or add, they give us -3. You're going to have 4 and 1, right? And then now we have a minus there and then we have a plus there. Why did we have a minus at the 4? Because our second term here is a minus. So a bigger factor should be the one that is negative. Okay. So now we're done factorizing. Once we're done factorizing, we then remember that we multiplied by -4, that -4. So we should also divide these constant terms by that 4. All right. So now finally we're going to have x minus 4 over 1 is 1. And then in this case, when you say 1 over 4, it remains to be 1 over 4. And we don't want 1 over 4. So now instead, our denominator here, we're going to make it the coefficient of x there. So we're going to have 4x plus 1. Our numerator stays there to be that. So now once we get to this point, then we are done factorizing. This is how we factorize advanced trinomials. I will do more, another example in another question. You guys will see it. So now we just factorized. So now we're going to have now here x minus 1. Then we have 4x plus 1. And then divided by, we have 4x plus 1. And then now let us simplify. Therefore, looking at our numerator and our denominator, we have two brackets that are the same, right? This bracket here is the same as that bracket. So they're going to cancel each other out. Then we are left with x. Let me just do this. Then we are left with x plus 1 because those two, they canceled each other out. And then we have minus. And then looking here, we also have two brackets that look the same. And those brackets are, we have this one here and that. They do the same. So now they're also going to cancel each other out. And then once they did that, then we're left with x minus 1, right? And then now in this case, we're finally going to have x plus 1, and then we multiply this to that positive is going to be -x, and then we multiply again, there's going to be plus 1, and now finally, x minus x are going to cancel each other out, then you are left with plus 1, which will then give us plus 2. But we know that if it's plus 2, we can simply write it as a 2. Okay, please, if ever there's anything that you missed or you didn't understand, comment just on the comment section so that we can come back and simplify it further or explain that which you do not understand. But that is our answer. Our answer is 2, right? So you can go back and rewatch the whole thing that I just did, this whole solution, while now I'm going to go to our another question, which is question 1.2. 1.2, the same factorized. Remember, we factorized a lot here. So now this should be just a bonus question for us when they say we should factorize 6x squared minus 7x minus 20, right? When you factorize this, again, we don't want to have any number close to our x squared. So what do we do? Remember, we multiply it there. So we are going to be left with x squared minus 7x. So now 6 times 20 is going to give us minus 120, right? So once we have that, now we know it's easier for us to factorize this. We're going to have two brackets. We have x there. We have another one there. So what are those two factors of 120 that if ever we multiplied, they give us 120, but if we add or subtract, they give us 7. While you guys are busy trying to find it, you're going to get that we have 15 and 8. Again, which one should be negative and which one should be positive? The one that's going to be negative is 15. Why? Because our middle term there, it is negative, and then this one is going to be positive. Okay? And then from here, we do as we did. Remember, we multiplied by 6. We multiplied by 6, so now we should divide by how much? By 6. So we're going to divide by 6 there. We divide by 6 there. Therefore, we're going to have x minus, when you put this in the calculator or you just look for the highest common factor, you find that we have 5 over 2, because our common factor there should, our highest common factor should be 3, right? And then in this case, we have x plus our highest common factor is 2, they're going to have 4 over 3. And then remember, we want to write this as our coefficient. These denominators, we want to write them as our coefficients. So finally, we're going to have 2x minus 5. And then here we have 3x plus 4. And then that is that. Then we got it. Okay, then we factorized. Remember, when we factorize, we should leave it in brackets. Let's not forget that. Okay, and then let us now go to question 1.2.2. Let's get right on to it. Question 2.2. We're given here a squared plus a minus 2ab. Then we have minus 2b. We have 4 terms here. Whenever we have 4 terms, the easiest thing for us to remember is what? Grouping, right? So we're going to group our terms. We're going to have a squared plus a, and then let's take out the minus out, minus, and then we have 2ab plus 2b. Why is it a plus there? Because remember, negative times positive is going to give us that negative there, right? So now let us look into our brackets, and then we look for the common factor between this and that. Our common factor is a. Then we are left with a plus 1 inside the bracket, and then you have minus. Now looking inside this bracket, what our common factors are going to have 2b, right? And then what are we left with inside? A plus 1. So now looking at these terms, which one is our highest common factor? I think you got it right. Our highest common factor is a plus 1. And then onto our next bracket, we are then going to look for that which is not common, which in this case, we have a that is not common and minus 2b that is not common. We're going to write them down, which is a minus 2b. And then that is your easy 3 marks. Okay, so please, whenever dealing with this, I always tell my students that the hardest thing in math is practicing and preparing and being focused and resilient. So please, whenever you're doing these things, stay on it, put in the effort, put in the work, and then it will one day pay it off. Okay, thank you so much. On our next video, we'll be doing equations and inequalities. Thank you.